And welcome to Studio Synergy number 12. We got a small group with us, and we have some people coming, but we'll just do introductions now. And from left to right, as I see them, we have Barry.
Hello.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. You're new here.
Sequential artist, love comic book junkie. I'm working on like 5 numerous titles right now, serial tags, The Oblivion Chain, Paper Universes, Dead Flow, Shit Flingers out in the UK, and Canada Jack. And you can see all those on Facebook, just type them in, find them. And you look at my Stay Broke on Facebook, I'm just putting stuff on blast progression of pages all day. And BT Comics is my creator-owned imprint that I have. If you happen to be in Colorado, though, we're going to be at the Rocky Mountain Comic Con again, which is another feather in my cap. I'm happy about just to be there, All that hard work finally pay off, man. Trenton, New Jersey represent. I'm just like residing with my beautiful family in Colorado right now, So, working hard, man. Never hardly working. Glad burning.
Awesome, man. Well, great to have you here.
Thank you, sir.
And we have Scott.
Hey, I'm Scott Sertland. I do a comic book called Young and the Dead. It's kind of a cross between Goonies and Night of the Living Dead. It's kids versus zombies. And when I'm not doing comics, I do art prints and things. I do a lot of kind of sci-fi, retro future stuff. And that's all. You can find all that stuff at circworks.com.
That's right. And we have Tiffany. Hey, Tiffany.
Hi, I'm Tiffany McLeod. I am currently working on a illustrated poetry book and recently an unnamed comic.
Unnamed.
I like those unnamed comics.
Yeah.
And I am Peter Palmiotti, your humble host, and I work on too much things. Bright Eyes, Neon Eden, I'll have my superhero comic Retro coming out. Well, probably kickstarted before the end of the year, hopefully. I'll get published before the end of the year as well. That's a one-shot. And podcast, blog, do videos, and all else. You can find me everywhere. And let's just jump right in. What's on everybody's mind?
Well, the first thing, being that I'm new to the group, it's one thing that's been on my mind. Peter, how quick does it take? I mean, like when you balls to the wall in it, how quick do you, on average, ink a page? Because I'm in the inking phase right now of the book.
Well, depending on how long the show goes, you should be done. No.
3 hours?
Yeah. I tend to, it depends on, the level of detail, how much I've worked with the artist previously. If it's somebody new, it tends to take me a little longer, regardless of, how easy it might seem or whatnot. It's because I'm doing more than just inking a page. I'm melding a style, and it's something I think about a lot when I'm working with new people. But I'm a page a day kind of guy normally. I could do more than that if that's all I'm focused on. But what's your deal?
Yeah, pretty much the same page a day.
Yeah.
And again, that's kind of how much detail the conversation I had with you before. It is kind of how much detail is in the pencil for me, and I like to hear how somebody else will handle a situation. But again, it's like if I have to do 3 of them in one day, I'll do it. But why kill myself when I want to pencil something anyway? I don't even know. You know,
Yeah.
FOP, you know.
Yeah, I've heard of anchors who set time limits to how long it should take to ink
Why?
an average page, and to
Why?
me that's ridiculous. That's like you cutting the work down and just like slapping ink on a page and it giving no truth to what's already there, or but I mean, it is like comic books, like anything. It's a business, and I can relate to approaching it as a business, but it is art, and you gotta put the time in and do it right.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Um, but let's see. There are things like if it's a splash page, especially if it's a cover, or sometimes even like a two-page spread, all those kind of things take me longer. Um, there's a lot more detail. Of course, the cover you want to make look as slick as possible because that's what sells the book.
Right.
Um, but a double-page spread, for whatever reason, takes me 3 times what a single page takes.
Yes, I did myself.
Somehow working on a huge, piece of artwork takes me a lot longer because I guess I'm like, looking at it. Uh, I'm like, my face is in the detail. Step back and look at it as a whole,
You get to
a lot
back.
more or something.
Yeah,
Do-
absolutely.
Peter, do you find that's true? Because usually a double page spread, usually if you're going to do a double page spread, you're showing off basically, so you want to have a lot more detail. You think that's why it takes that much longer to do a double page?
In a lot of cases, a double page spread is a lot more detail heavy than a single page. Much like a splash page, it's doubly so. So yeah, that's probably another reason. I posted. I'm not sure what it was. I think it was a double page, like page 2 and 3, on my Facebook page a couple days ago. A friend of mine actually had a double page spread from my time on Aquaman, and it was Aquaman versus Swamp Thing, and it almost looks simple, looking at it now, but there's a lot of it was a lot of work that went into working on that piece, from what I remember, and I kind of remember working on that.
No, I'm looking at it right now. No, man.
It
Well,
had lettering in there, and you had to do it just right and tight, and yeah, there's a lot of swampness of it. And,
with the water, leaves and the water. Oh man, yeah. I don't know. It's oh man, that all that. I can't even cross hatches. It's just oh my god, sir.
Cross
well,
hatching.
with Cal Fury, there wasn't hatching or cross hatching. It was more everything is a very specific technique, and like skin was done one style, and rock was done in another style, and wood was done in another style. He had very specific things for everything. Um, because he has a very unique style to a certain extent, and once you grasp exactly what he was doing with different objects and textures and whatnot, it became easier. But to look at a huge double page spread of his pencils, and just like you get lost in the lines and you don't know what's what.
Yeah.
But you have to, it's a process.
Hmm. If nobody has a question, I'm gonna keep asking them questions. So I'm not. Hey, Peter, I got to know too, sir. When you what you just said holds so much levity with me. Would it be all right? First, you said you're feeling out how a guy's pencil, like if you were inking me, you would feel my bounce or whatever. Um, it still does the same rule of just basic texture help you out in learning somebody's style in terms of the pencils, like make that wood and make that metal, you know. Does just the basic understanding of texture give you a advantage on the learning curve of someone's style, pencil style?
Yeah. It it does. I always find myself slow in the beginning. It's just my way of working. I mean, probably everybody else's to some extent, but I'm not in the first and foremost. I'm not a fast inker. I consider myself a slow inker, and um, a page a day isn't enough if you really want to make a good living in the business. Um, but so and when it comes down to it, I'm very particular, a perfectionist, um, and I like to soak in what I'm doing. So I like to get a piece of, a page in advance and stick it on my shelf and look at it and think about it and subliminal. Some of it's, like actually looking at what the artist put down, but somehow I just pick up. I mean, this is my method. It's like I'm a method actor. I'm a method inker.
Yeah.
I just pick up like what needs to be done over time, and even like really mesh with a penciler, it does sometimes take me as long as an issue to really get into the rhythm. I really like to nail things down and you know make it work as best I can.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, it's like a symbiotic thing. My whole problem up to this point is still just trying to find somebody that can ink my stuff, and I feel I was like, well, I always thought my style was easy, but which I thought it was easy to ink, and then I started talking to a lot of the editors and stuff and pros like you, and you guys, whatever you tell me, I'm gonna just absorb it up. I'm not even gonna ask a question. Only time I'm gonna ask a question is when I just ask a question. I'm not, once you tell me, I'm like, oh, okay, back pocket, I'm using it tomorrow. So I thought that you could just bounce on my pencils and like get it done. A lot of guys saying, man, I can't do this, man. Your lines, you got too many lines. I'm like, too many lines. And I'm like, man, did you see what Jim Lee does? Like, but I don't know. So I just said, forget it. I'm gonna learn how to ink, and again, studying guys like you so long, and I try to pick up. Now that I can talk to you, I'm asking questions, but I'm looking for that person that can just like really compliment my like stuff. Because I learned from guys like Ward Drucker and stuff. Like they really drew me in when I was little. When I wanted to do like Usama and stuff like that, I wanted to get that type of style. But I can't stray away from the cartoons because I love the cartoons. So and again, I think it's because my mom was like looking at Fangoria magazine all the time when I was little. Like it's just that Fangoria horror, over exaggerated to. So when I do the settle moments, and I had this one guy ink over my stuff, like I told you before, sir. and he just totally overpowered the nuance of line. And it's like, how do I say this? Like, I want to I want to keep him because he can be good over somebody else's style, but with mine, he's like, oh man, we just got too many lines. You know? I'm like, man, it's fine. You know, I'm just like, try over this guy it went great, but you know, I'm learning now. Like, I'm having to play editor a little bit.
Yeah. Well, you know, if it's really hard to get a great team that works together, works well together. You know, it's a penciler and anchor. There have been many great teams, but it's all you know, what you like, what you're into. You know, but it's really tough for the match to happen. You know, it's like, because it's a lot of it's just random. I mean, you know, if Marvel needs a new team on Spider-Man and they just pick an artist, you know, a penciler, you know, sometimes they ask the penciler who'd you prefer. Yeah. Sometimes it's like, well, who's available?
I mean,
you know, it's not really the greatest match. It's you know, it's who's ready for the job.
Yeah.
But you know, some editors are really good at working with a team and making them mesh better. You know, I know editors I work for always, you know, I'm always trying to push and do the best job I can, and the editor was willing to work with me, you know, work with the penciler as well, and make that happen better. But you don't always get the opportunity to get a long gig either. But a lot of pencilers in this industry don't like the jobs that inkers are doing on their pencils. That's pretty much a fact. When you get an inker that does a great job, you know, to a certain extent, you gotta say, you know, I'm going to do the best pencils I could possibly do. I'll try to talk with the editor, the publisher, make that part of my, you know, job to get a good inker on me, because that's a large part of the battle.
Yeah, sure.
You know, it's a difficult thing to get a good match. I've heard many a horror story.
Yeah, no, I've heard about horror stories, sir. There's no more horror stories. I know. I wanted to delve into inking, but I was like, I just don't have the wherewithal to. I really don't have the wherewithal. A lot of people, I don't know. The penciler takes out the inker takes out the penciler. I think that's why you would think it would be a easier thing for them to get together. You know, but I don't know. It's like for me being a penciler, I'm not like one of those prima donnas to say, oh, no, you're just killing it. You're just killing my chocolate. Like, I don't care. It's not like that. It's just that is your peanut butter going to mesh well with the chocolate to make it a good Reese's peanut butter? You know what I mean? It's not. I don't care if the peanut butter is in the chocolate. That's why we're supposed to make the Reese's together. And we have our colors and put some pretty packaging on it. So I don't know. Some guys would probably just be too scared to even try to hop on and listen to me or listen to the penciler, because if the inker tells me, hey man, you're putting too much onto this, I got that, and then I'm like, oh well, you're making my job easier. Or a inker probably will say, well, I don't know where to begin with your stuff, so okay, well I got to put more line weight on it to aid here. You know, they let me know that I know what I can do to make that process faster. You know, same with the writer with the pencil. So I was like, get all this character design crap out the way, and tell me what he looked like, and again, you could just give me like Spider-Man crashed the wall, stops Rhino, it says Mary Jane, and I will give you like 8 pages on the money of it. It was told. I mean, Aunt May was supposed to be in that scene. Like, well, you said Aunt May. You know what I'm saying? So again, I try to make your job easy, sir. You know that's what I would feel, because the production of the book, I feel, is predicated off the fact of what the next person did, not man, or just.
Right. Hey, Scott, did you ever have anybody ink your work?
You know what? I don't think I ever have. I've always inked my own. So, I mean, probably because I couldn't, probably never afford to pay somebody to ink my work, so I just did it myself. But yeah, I remember like when I first started, because when I was younger, when I was a kid, I always drew comics, but I would, they were just pencils, and I didn't even know, I didn't know that you are supposed to add ink to it and everything. So if you look at my stuff from a kid, it's just pencils. So finally, when I started learning about how the books are actually made, there used to be this. It was like an art gallery that had comic book pages in it. It was called, I think it was called Bow and Board. And it was in Scottsdale, and I went there, and I would go there and just stare at the artwork, because it's the first time I actually saw like finished, actual finished artwork, pages and things, and it was just, and you can see like the corrections and everything, and the paste ups and all that. So I mean, just looking at the artwork really helped me. And so what I started doing after that is I just went home and I would take. This was in the '90s probably, so these were, like Jim Lee X-Men and stuff like that. And I would.
They had image ads of Bow and Board.
What's that?
They had image ads of Bow and Board with the purple Bow and Board and like Image Comics back in the day. I remember that.
Yeah.
And you could order. Yeah.
Yeah, they probably, I think they did run ads in the comics and everything. But yeah, that actual gallery was in Arizona where I live. But so I would just take and I'd blow up regular comic book pages to. I didn't have any actual pencils; it was all inks, But I would take those in just black and white, photocopy them, blow them up to like 11 by 17, and then I would put like a vellum or like a tracing paper over it, and I would ink on top of that, and just constantly do that until I finally got comfortable with it. But I've tried using like the quill, and I never mastered that. But I can do okay with the brush, so that's usually what I do. But I've never, I don't think I've ever inked over anyone else's stuff because I'd be afraid I'd mess it up. And I've never had anyone ink over mine. So.
I've never inked at all. Well, I have, but I went out and I got the book because they had this like really prominent inking book, and I got the brush and I got the quills, and then I think I took one of my old artworks and I did it up real nice, and then I showed it to someone. It's like, oh wow, it looks like Okami, and like that's not what I was going for. It's this video game. I was supposed to keep it simple. I just tend to go way overboard, and I avoid lines now. Ballpoint pens. That's all I can say.
Ballpoint. I remember my ballpoint days. That was when I like to call them my Jim Lee days, because like back then, like I used to just want to like draw like how that flare that was draw from that to that, and all the crosshatching under the sheets and all that stuff, and I used to just like all the time, and like I didn't know, like coming from Trenton, New Jersey, guys, I didn't know I couldn't get any paper. I didn't know we had regular. I remember when I found out about Zippertone, like how they did shading. My uncle told me about Zippertone with the dot. I was like, oh, that's what that is. Like, slowly but surely knowing how comic books is made, because I was the only one in the hood that was concerned about that stuff. So I had to learn how to ink. I wanted to get that look, and I didn't want nobody just. I don't. As artists, I'm sure all y'all understand, we don't let nothing hinder us or anything. So if I want that look, I'm gonna find it, even if it was with a ballpoint pen. And again, now I still remember the feeling that ballpoint pen, how smooth and the roll of it. I think I still can kill it even if was in a situation to ink with it, you know.
Yeah. I'm looking for something. I'll be with you in a minute. Anybody could talk.
Oh yeah, for sure. But right now I'm on this the second panel of the second issue of Serial Tags, and got this one guy about to come in the interrogation room. I just want to make his face as nonchalant as possible, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Penciling is my favorite part. Like it's just, I love it so much.
Okay, I put something in the chat. If you go to the left of the screen, you can click on the blue balloon, and on the right will pop up the chat. That's a link to a piece that was done with ballpoint pens.
Wow, I think I've seen that before.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah.
So anybody who says ballpoint pens,
Yeah, right? I know.
anything,
Oh my gosh.
anything.
I didn't even know you could have many different colors of ballpoint pens.
Really?
That is clean.
Wow.
No, I've seen
Yeah,
a lot
I'm
of.
sure you can find different.
Well, I've seen green, I've seen red, I've seen blue, I've seen black, and that's it.
Oh, that's clean.
But yeah,
But yeah, I saw
I've
that. I
seen.
was like, that's beautiful.
But I kind of like using ballpoint pens for sketching too. Because they just seem to glide real easy, and you know.
Because you got that looseness to it. That's why
Yeah.
you put that loose right under your wrist, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you can't take it back once you put down
No,
the line anyways.
definitely not.
That's why it's usually sketchy. But yeah, I like drawing with pens, and for that reason, because it's really smooth and it's a heavy line. You know, it's
It is
solid, and you know, I like sketching in pencil too.
So it sounds like Barry, both you and Peter have like tons of projects that you're working on. How do you guys manage all that?
Time management.
Yeah, I just got one, so.
I can't wait to just have one. I was up there, part of my French bitching about that to Peter, and I was like, but when you're in my position, you have to work on. I mean, as many stuff as you can, because definitely, you know, I'm trying to make a name for myself at this point. I'm still just a paddywhack, you know, and so I mean, the more I can be in your face, the better. It's because a lot of other artists uh, I've noticed that's trying to do what I do in sequential. They just don't want to get jobs done, man. They just don't want to get jobs done, and so I'm like, okay. And plus, you know, I'm a Kirby freak, so I'm just like, look, man, Jack can do it, I can do it. I got a good girl in back of me, you know. You know, you get cussed out from time to time because all she sees is the back of your head, but that's what it is, you know. But you know, I handle it well. I got kids too and stuff, so I'll pencil a page and pencil another page, ink another page, and then my secret is to don't tell nobody that it's coming out until you got two done. Like,
Yeah.
so you know that way you ain't got to really bust your hump that much. But in terms of speed, I can do it if I had to, bro. Like, I don't know about you know, Peter and stuff, but I know for a fact that if it needs to be done, it's going to get done. Definitely if you're doing a page a day. I mean, like, how can you not? You know?
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys work a lot. Um, One thing that got me, I think it was years ago, was that I messed up my wrist. This wasn't doing any artwork. This was just working in general. I had a class assignment where I was on AutoCAD and I discovered that I did it wrong. I was designing an entire, I guess, site map of a location, and then I decided with my brilliant idea that I would go ahead and work 5 hours straight redoing this entire thing on AutoCAD. And then the very next day, sleep like maybe an hour, and then do another project using that very same hand without any breaks. So how do you manage your ergonomics? Exactly. Yeah, because I messed up my wrist really bad. Like I couldn't use my hand for like about a good month and a half. It was it was a lesson to learn.
Yeah, for sure. I usually
Um,
I see.
I lived in Louisville a couple years back, and I was working at the Cheesecake Factory for a while. Um, and yeah, I was like holding a whole array of dishes in my hand and turned it the wrong way, and then my hand was useless. Um, and at the time I was working at Cheesecake Factory, which wasn't a hell of a long time. I basically went to work there to set up shop in Louisville, get a place and get set up. Um, but yeah, so I wasn't really drawing a lot at the time, but a wristband on and went to see the doctor about it, and he said it was cool. You just needed to not carry heavy things for a little while, and I guess within 2 weeks, definitely three, I was back 90%, and back working. I think I might have only taken a couple of days off when it comes down to it, and one or two of those might have been days off anyway. Um, but I definitely went home after that happened, and it it could have been a lot worse, because I am left-handed, and I did hurt my left arm, is wrist really what it comes down to the point where I couldn't even lift a spoon. It's just like
Oh
it just
my
went dead.
goodness.
Yeah.
Warm
Um,
Yeah.
so I was worried for a little while, but it worked itself out, and I only have the memories. I don't have any physical harm from it, which is good. But those dishes on at Cheesecake Factory are heavy, especially if you're carrying 40 or 50 of them at a time.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, and the pots and pans and everything else. I was throwing around like they were paper.
Oh yeah. That's where the mistake happened right there.
Yeah.
My mistake was that I didn't take any breaks. That's what I was told.
Guys, this is the book I was looking at yesterday, like right here, and I'm just like,
Right.
look at it, and then I was just like, back then I was scared to do that stuff because I was like, well, that's not superheroes, but because I wanted to do superheroes. I mean, the first person I can learn how to draw in the dirt, and my mom taught. But looking at that stuff, I was like, oh man, I wish I was just paying more attention back then, because that type of stuff that those guys were doing back then, if you incorporate it into, let's just say, Superman like this is way more powerful than Superman like this to me. So they were doing that type of stuff. So now, I mean, that's all I do. Like when I can, every time I get a scene, I can have somebody having a conversation, or somebody I'm like, oh yes, that's just what I was looking for. You know what I mean? Like, because you could probably have like Vision just creep out, and she's like, what? Like, look how his mannerism was to Cap, you know? And oh man, he was just kind of human at one moment. Like, so again, like I'm like absorbing this stuff like all day long yesterday, any day, man. Like that's hardly don't miss anybody. I'm telling you, good stuff. I highly advise you to look at that book.
I love that.
Go ahead, Scott.
I was just saying, I love Mad Magazine. I'm, heavily influenced by Mad Magazine. I used to do like tons of caricatures, and I tried to kind of model that style and everything. And I remember just all the little things you can look and find when you look inside the drawing, all the little gags and jokes that are kind of hidden in there, and just so much detail. And yeah, I mean, it's yeah, I always, because even I think my characters now, I think they're a little more humorous,
I can see it.
So, but yeah, I used to make my own version of Mad Magazines when I was a kid and all kinds of stuff. So between Mad Magazine and just comic books in general, that's what I grew up on too. So
yeah. All right. Well, would you say that you went more towards the cartoon aspect of it as your career grew?
I would say so. Yeah. Like I like if you look at like early like Michael Golden and stuff like that, where I don't know if you've ever seen the book that he did in the '80s, The Nom.
Yeah. I was kind of located. Not a lot of people know about it, but it was big to artists. Of course, we saw that.
You were breaking up for a second there. I didn't get all that.
And it was like so bouncy. Well, I thought it was like it was cartoon.
Yeah, yeah. But the thing that I liked about that is, like with the Nom, here's a story about the Vietnam War, and it's serious, it's a serious drama as far as comics go and everything. And he's drawing the characters in these kind of cartoony ways, and I just really ate that stuff up. So, even though, I've got, like in my comic book, I've got kids fighting zombies, and there's, it's not super hyper violent or anything, but the zombies I try to make look menacing and everything, where the kids I want to give them sort of a cartoony vibe, just that juxtaposition between the good the good guys, where they're kind of more whimsical, I guess. I hate using that word because everyone uses it, and then with the zombies being a little more which you might traditionally think for like horror comics and stuff like that.
That contrast I feel is great, man. I so want to read that, and to see what you do with that. Just that contrast of the kids would be the comic relief, but the zombies are always the straight man.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah. Comics I've read, it's escapism, and it takes you out of reality. I mean, I want to read about, mutants and far distant planets with aliens and all kinds of stories. But give me pretty pictures, give me kooky characters, give me, weird pets and all the like. If I want realism, I'll go watch the news and get the press.
Yeah, I'm kind of like that way too. But I do like I mean, I like a little bit of everything, but some stuff just more. Like, I mean, I love looking at like Alex Ross's stuff because it's just amazing to look at. But it's the more real you get. I don't know. Sometimes you get a little further away from what I think comics are, but I think you can just take little bits and pieces of everything. But
yeah, totally. Because I like photoreal But at the same time, because my style was kind of starting to go a little bit too photoreal, because I was looking too much Travis Charest and like McNevin and stuff like that, and Alex Ross. I was looking at a lot of that, and I was like early, I'll probably say 2000, late 90s. That stuff really started, and I was like, now I just like kind of poisoned my mind. So I got to get away from that. So because it stopped getting fun. You know, once it stops getting fun for me, and I got to be worrying about too much of it, because I feel my storytelling is the realism to me. That adds the realism for me. And again, like you guys just said, you know, if I want photo real, you know, I go get photo real. You know, I look at a movie, you know, so I just try to keep it bouncy all the time, because I remember that shiver up the spine. You know that shiver up the spine you get when you see something when you were little. It still to this day, really. When we see that look, I always try to capture that. You know, I don't like looking at the old stuff. Like once I draw it, I don't really like looking at it no more. But because I was like, I see a million flaws. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, like growing up, you know, there's a ton of artists that I love, but you know, John Byrne was a big one. You know, and George Perez. You know, I loved like Neil Adams' work, but it wasn't like he was of what I was reading.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, it's you can be realistic and cartoony at the same time, and you know, nobody who draws comics is too realistic when it comes down to it. Um, but you know, I love the balance that like John Byrne got with his work, where it was just you know, something about his work that nobody else really captured just as well.
Yeah, that was probably my introduction to comics was when I really started collecting was Alpha Flight when Byrne was doing it. So yeah, I really, you know, I liked his stuff, and then like George Perez and all those guys. I mean, and then Art Adams came along, and he's the guy that like really blew me away.
Yeah, Art.
Man, have you seen like are you connected with Art on Facebook? He just like throws pictures up, covers or I don't know, random art. He's doing like insane detail now. It's so incredible the work he does.
I'll have to check it out, because like when I brought up Michael Golden, I saw him at a convention, and I was looking at some of his newer stuff, and it seemed, and maybe I didn't get a close enough look or whatever, but it just didn't seem like the stuff I remember from him. It didn't have that cartooniness to it. So
Yeah.
I would love to see what Art Adams is doing now. I should follow him on Facebook.
Yeah, I'm about.
It's yeah. I haven't seen a lot of newer Mike Golden, but yeah, it's progressed and changed, and his work is still his work, but yeah, it had more of a humor to it back when. Art's work is a sort of like exaggeration of what it used to be, and because he's not doing as much work, I don't know, maybe he is, but he's focused on extreme detail.
Yeah. It seemed like he never really did much. He would do specials here and there, and I know he did like, he did like the long shot miniseries, and then for a while he had his own thing. But it seemed like he would just do like limited series, and he never really, at least as far as I remember, he never really like stuck on a book for like a long run or anything.
No, he wasn't that type of artist.
I don't know.
Not everybody is a monthly.
Yeah, not everybody is a monthly type person. Not everybody. But I know.
Hey,
that's what I'm built for, man.
with the group now. He snuck in.
Hey, John.
Hey guys,
Hey,
sorry
Nick.
I'm late.
Oh, no problem.
Late than never.
I told you we should have closed the door.
Well, you know,
You have the power.
now you're stuck with me.
So you gonna say Barry?
Well, I was if you were talking about Burn and stuff, and Adams too, but Burn, man, one thing that really drew me in about that guy, definitely like with the X-Men stuff, it was just the line was just so smooth around, like his Cyclops. He does the best Cyclops I've ever seen, and
Yeah.
I just love the Cyclops so much. And I just don't see how some people though. That's why I'm interested to see what you're telling me, Peter. I've got to see more new stuff because I always thought it stayed like that. I didn't see anything because he just wasn't in the limelight like that. When you do selective work, but he deserves. He earned the right to get that type of work and just hey, I showed my work, put it on display, and I can go for a couple months. You know what I mean? Like I you know. Maybe I was too much enthusiastic about it not to show because I know now, like you're telling me, sir, he's showing a lot. I can't wait to see fresh Burn, man. What?
I don't know what Byrne is up to right now. I know for maybe it was a year ago. I'm not even sure. He was working on X-Men again. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I know. If it is, man, I would just go crazy to see that.
Um,
But Arthur
what are you
Adams,
working on, John?
easy, man.
Just a doodle. Like, I kind of don't want my work on the next chapter of my comic going out to the world yet. So I'm just working on something to kind of clear the cobwebs a little bit. It was a long day at work, so.
Yeah. I hear ya. I'm just watching Scott color his characters.
Amazing,
I don't know if I'd say that.
man. Yeah, it is.
It's fun, though, because it's been a while since I've colored everything. Most of the books in black and white, so it is nice to get a chance to color every now and then.
Serial tags. One thing about this book, with my creator on serial tag books, we get this question all the time at times. So you mean it's like Dexter? I'm like, no, it's not like Dexter, man. It's like just because the guy is a murderer and he's not like Dexter. Okay, like he's just like a murderer. He works in a forensics lab. Yes, that's kind of like Dexter, but he doesn't like cry about being a murderer. He kind of just basically loves it. And
Doesn't cry. Dexter did cry.
so our guy loves it and indulges in it. So it's just really fun to see people and it. For me, it's just like making play it straight as an artist, making play it straight instead of like superpowers. I got to draw cop cars and apartment buildings and cats drinking blood and murder scenes. So it just makes
Mundane stuff.
you know, yeah, not Dexter.
Have you figured out how you pitched your pitch for it yet, or are you just still in the process of working on it?
For
Like,
the no, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, for serial taxi, it was kind of funny how we came up with it because my writer was my neighbor. He lived upstairs from me, and then because he was
Uh-oh.
Lose him?
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Now,
You might have
but
lost
he was in the middle of a story.
I know, he was. I wanted to know, how did you guys develop your pitch?
That is.
I'll finish his story. You see, he hooked up with Spielberg right after, and now he's signed up for 12 movie deal, and he's too good for us.
That happened quite suddenly.
I know.
Oh, well, that was my
Shocking.
agency, a suckers.
Oh, man. I really need to know how he did that pitch then.
I'm sure he's trying to get back in. I had that problem yesterday where my screen froze up and I had to shut my whole computer down and boot up again. So, but I've still got Barry's like profile picture on there. Do you guys see that too, or is that just on mine?
Yeah, I see
Yeah, I
that.
see it.
Because before he was talking, and then he had a separate profile. I don't know if that had anything to do with it or not.
When I came in, both of those were up. I think.
Yeah.
I don't know if he had issues getting in to begin with, but like, oh, there is extra one dropped.
Yeah, I was having bandwidth issues. I had to turn mine down to really, really low, and then absolutely no video.
Yeah, well, I'll keep checking messages, and if he
I'm sorry,
probably
guys.
getting back on.
There he is.
Oh, hey, there he is.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Oh, no problem.
Just back to it, just real quick though. He pitched it to me, and I was like, yeah, maybe it might work, but he already had a job like that, and so I said, how about I just make the guy look like you, and that way, when it comes to reference in terms of stories and stuff like that, we can really draw from the crazy scenes that he's seeing on actual murder scenes. So to add realism and stuff like that, but just pitching it is whatever. I mean, when you're pitching books and stuff, don't really worry about somebody going to like it, is what I'm learning. Just know that, just make sure the work is done. That's the main important.
Yeah, if you do something you're passionate about, then it will find an audience. Is my belief.
Yeah, you did tell me. You told me that. You tell Sam. Yeah, for sure.
And that's it.
Yeah, it's got.
I was just gonna kind of add to what you were saying. It's so cool now, with the internet. Whereas you have these hobbies and these interests that you thought you were the only one that had those, and then with the internet you find there's so many other like-minded people out there that share those same interests, and that's so yeah. I mean, I think if it's something that interests you, chances are there's going to be other people out there that are also going to be interested in it.
Cool.
Like when you came up with Young and the Dead, that's everything you love. But did you ever think for a second, like, did you ever cater it to what you thought other people might like?
In a way, kind of, because I mean, I'm a big fan of like movies like The Goonies and Monster Squad and all that. But to be honest, I wasn't really a huge fan of like zombie movies until more recently. Until maybe like I started getting into it a little more. I mean, I always liked like Night of the Living Dead, but that was really the only the original. But that was like really the only zombie movie I really seen. So it wasn't that I didn't like zombie films, or I wasn't really as it just wasn't something I had seen a lot of. And then Walking Dead came along and everything, and that blew up and everything. But obviously, when I first came up with the idea, I wanted to do just something simple because it was part of that mini comics dump truck, and there was a limited amount of time to do it and everything. And so my intention was, I'll just do a zombie story. That'll be easy. And then once I started thinking about it, and it started turning around in my head. I mean, I'm like, hey, this isn't half bad. I kind of like this. I like the characters. I like what's happening here. And yeah, it just kind of grew from there. So it wasn't, part of it was trying to, taking zombies, because it was, in a way, it was kind of, it still is sort of. I mean, I guess. I mean, still zombies are big, I guess. So part of that was just, oh, that'd be fun to do. And I figured some people might be interested because it was zombies, but it was more my love of, those kind of movies like Goonies and Monster Squad and all that really was the driving force, and I just kind of replaced like the classic Universal Studios monsters like in Monster Squad and the the whole pirate ship thing in Goonies with zombies. So yeah, I don't know. I kind of, now that I'm into it, I'm enjoying it more. So.
Well, if I love Goonies and a lot of those movies too, but can you imagine Goonies coming out today and what the reaction would be to a movie like that?
Yeah, I always wonder that. I mean, the closest thing I think we've probably had is like Super 8, which is great. So I mean, and I think I know so many people that just love that movie. I don't remember how well it did, like box office wise or whatever, but I don't know how much of that. Yeah, I don't know how much of that is just nostalgia.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. I guess I don't know if kids watching it today have the same, feeling about like Goonies that I did.
Yeah.
Curious. I don't know.
That's kind of like when I posed, like, Jack Kirby is amazing, but he was at the beginning of everything, and he had that opportunity to create a universe of characters, But what if he was just another artist today? Would we even care?
Yeah, I don't know.
They would. I don't think they would. I really wouldn't think they would care.
I think I would have to disagree about that, because I believe that there's certain individuals, just by their presence of their work, they can reach out to like a lot of people, and you can tell that his artwork is going to stand the test of time. I mean, and that's just not because it's Jack Kirby. Even if you didn't have a name to it, like you didn't know who drew it, you would automatically be attracted to the work. That's just the way it is. That's what I believe, really.
Yeah. I mean, that's a really good point, because if you look at if you study Kirby and the stuff that he was doing before, the older guys were like, oh well, that's phenomenal. Like his stuff was the romance comics and stuff like that. But I mean, it's so many good artists right now, predicated off the bare bones that he did. Really, Kirby was just doing the bone. We all just look at that's. I was telling another artist, I hate when people try to do Kirby. I'm like, you can't try to draw like Kirby, because you can't. Again, you're trying to reinvent the wheel. You got to add your scope to what he did, because I can tell you directly what I do that Kirby did, and any great artist, I'm telling you, can tell you where he took it from. But if I was to try to get boxy like that, I look really stupid. Really stupid. And you would be like trying to do something. Because it's like I see like 8 guys at a con drawing Kirby, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like,
in other words, you wouldn't know their name. You would just know that, oh yeah, he draws like Kirby.
Yeah. I mean, I would like somebody to look at my work and say, oh, Kirby Crackle. Oh, because that's me nodding to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just gotta give a nod,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
And there's always that piece of advice that I hear that, if you're a comics artist, don't try and be Jack Kirby, try and be the first you.
Yeah.
You can't help not be Kirby. You can't help it.
Exactly.
Trying
to ape the legends that came before you is going to be a doomed prospect. Just take what they taught you and make it your own. That's the only way you can make something of it, I think.
Yeah, it's true. Like Frazetta, like I'll be trying to tell guys, like look at Frazetta. You gotta look at some Frazetta, man. Like, he taught me a lot about. To me, that was where my photo reel came from, was Frazetta. I was trying to, looking at Frazetta stuff, R Mags and stuff like that, Vampirella and stuff like that. You but that was me though. Because a lot of people, I talked to a lot of artists, they don't know about the artists that I knew about when I was younger, and I was like, how could you not know about him? Like, like they were just too looking for the pretty, and a lot of guys aren't attracted to the more visceral stuff. You know what I mean? I always like the visual stuff.
Well, the thing about those artists back then is that they studied from fine arts and then applied it into their work. A lot of the newer, a lot of the recent art that I've seen is that they tend to like copy what's already drawn. They don't look to enhance their foundations. I mean, I'm guilty of this. Like I started drawing cartoons first, and then I thought I could go ahead and survive it. You always have to go back and learn all your foundations, your colors, and it's only later on when you actually go back and look at Frazetta and then look at what he studied from that you realize, man, I am so behind.
Oh, that's the story of my life. Every single day, I'm always behind. Everybody's doing something new. All my favorites doing something new. All the guys I look at is doing something new. And I'm not looking at you anymore. I knew that you've done before. I was like, oh well, that one trick pony stuff, and I try not to be a one trick pony. Yeah, I really don't like that one trick pony. It's easy to get into one trick pony though. It's so easy though. Because once you learn how to do something, like, oh, I finally know how to do that, so you want to do that shadowy face at least a million times.
Yeah.
But you got to remember, now that I finally know how to do that shadowy face, how can I make it work for me in the storytelling aspect when I need to pull that card out? And I can do that shadowy face, but I'm not. I'm gonna try to find a way, that every way possible, not to do it now that I know how to do it, because I wanted to save it just for that book. So next time I do the shadowy face, it'll probably be a smaller panel, or if I do the shadowy face, it'll probably be in the shadows. I do the shadowy face, it'll probably be in the forefront. I don't know, but I'm not gonna do that shadowy face the same. Even though I did it a million times. That's I think that's the thing of us artists, is to learn how I'm gonna do it different. It's not how I'm gonna get it done. It's like how I'm gonna do it different this time.
Well, I think I think that's something that comes with experience too, because I think it's an amateur artist thing to, oh, I did this thing well, I should be doing this again. I think it's a more experienced artist thing to say, I kind of suck at this, I should be doing this more.
We always suck to ourselves, right?
Yeah. It's just like, it's a thing that you kind of got to learn to go after the things that you suck at in order to broaden your horizons. Because I remember my days when I was a youngin' and would just draw stuff over and over because I was pretty good at that stuff. Terrible artist, but I didn't realize it at the time.
We never do.
I believe in suffering through it once and then taking the lessons and moving on.
Yeah, I don't know. I get good, like back in, like being a trend in New Jersey, like back in the day, you always had the who's the best artist in class, and we all talking right now, we're the best artists in class.
Right.
Because there's a million of them. I try to tell guys, like, everybody got a million of the best artists in school. You just happen to be one of them. So when we used to do that, it was always the kids over your shoulder. You messed up right there, didn't you? And he's like, I guess, So when you keep hearing that all the time, I just stop trying to please people. So when people say it's messed up, unless it's the guy that was drawing with me while drawing against, when we had an art contest, Barry's better. Jesse's better. It don't matter, you know. That's when I got that demon off my shoulder, and I got to take criticism well. I learned how to take criticism well. So I didn't get offended when somebody said, "Hey man, that eye is not right." I learned to realize, like, well, that guy doesn't draw, so he does know when that eye is not right. You know, because he just sees eyes. You know, he just sees an eye. He probably can't draw an eye, but he just sees an eye. Like, man, that's not an eye. Well, you got to look at it again, because maybe that's not right. You know what I'm saying? Because they looking at it subjectively or objectively. I don't know.
No, it's no, that's very true. You see that a lot when people are arguing on the internet if a movie is good or not or something. And somebody's always like, well, you can't say you don't make movies, and it's like, no, that's not the point. Nobody in history has ever needed experience in a thing to say whether they enjoyed it or not.
Right, it's true. Because I'm doing it for the guy that don't draw.
Exactly.
The girl that don't draw. So yeah, man. So I've been starting getting butthurt, man. Like, I'm looked for the criticism, but if there's a grain of truth to it, and if I see the grain of truth to it, yeah. But if somebody's just being a jerk, they just being a jerk. But maybe that's just me. 'Cause I'm from Jersey, and I really don't care. We disrespect where I'm from, so it don't matter. Like, if something sucks, I'll be like, damn, it must suck, Like, there must be something wrong with it, man. So I'm gonna take, it.
It's like, if one person comes at me and says, you draw sucky faces,
Yeah.
that, I could take it into account or I could just brush it off. But if 20 people say the same thing, then it's like, maybe I should consider what they're saying.
Right. I don't dismiss anything, man. It's so true.
Yeah, I kind of have a theory that the most dangerous thing an artist can do is buy into their own press, especially when they're popular, because then you stop trying to improve, and then you start only listening to the good stuff people are saying about you and dismiss the constructive criticism, and then I don't know. Then I think you kind of taper off a little bit, like you stop having the impact you used to.
Well, I think that's the natural progression. I mean, whether it's because you're more in demand, or just like, you're getting a big paycheck regardless. if you put in 20 hours on a page or you put in 4 hours, you're probably definitely doing more conventions, interviews, talks, whatever. Time away from actual work affects the work. So, true.
Well, I mean, I struggle with. I know a lot of my friends. They just, oh man, you never hang out. I'm like, no, I don't hang out, man, because I am at this ball and chain at the desk, man. And when I spend time with my family, and then it's late at night. So it's serious to me, and I can't get what I want out of this if I do sit back and say, "Hey, man, that was a great page. Let's drink a beer and celebrate." I'm like, "Oh man, I know I'm gonna be hurting in the morning." So I was like, "I can't do that, man."
Like, celebrate after an issue?
Yeah, we can do that.
Rather than a page. Yeah, anybody who celebrates after every page, needs to get more pages done.
Yeah, I wish I'd come to that realization when I was a lot younger. I had a lot of wasted years where I was like, where I just assumed that, I was going to get better and stuff would happen without actually necessarily having to work for it right now. So, yeah, if I'd turned the corner and started doing this every day, hell, I'd probably be a good artist. But
you are a good artist. What are you talking about?
I'm doing my self-deprecation thing. Don't ruin it.
Okay.
Typical artist.
It's the one skill that I know every artist has.
So is that a character, John?
It started out as this ended up looking a lot different than it was going to be, but yeah, this is kind of a character design that I'm working on. I don't know what I'm going to use him for exactly, but
That's awesome. That's so clean, man.
I'm sure you can like design tons of random characters and fit them into your work.
I end up having to as many characters as I need a computer specialist for this scene. I'll just whip somebody up. Then I decide I want to use him 2 chapters later in the background. And I'm like, oh god damn it, I got to look him up again.
That's cool that you have all yours on deck like that, because when it comes to the character design for me, well, the background guys or the random cop, I just basically, I'll probably watch TV or the news or just flip through a magazine or just look outside through the window because I got a pretty good sidewalk. So look at the sidewalk, let's see an interesting face, just sketch them out real quick, he or she, and put them in there because I like. I wish I could say I had one. Do you have any like single character, Scott, that you just use just one on every scene in the background?
Oh, sorry. Did you say? I thought you said Scott. Go ahead, John. Sorry.
I didn't. I think he said Scott too. I just can't shut up sometimes. Go ahead. You're on deck, man. Go ahead. Go time.
Well, if you met me, this comic that I'm working on right now, it's kind of, there's not a lot of extras. Most of the extras are just dead zombies. So that's most of the other characters that I'm designing that aren't like my main cast of kid characters are the zombies. So, but I did this. So there's not a lot of background characters, but I do have to try to come up with the different ideas for zombies, like different things that they would be wearing, or different body types, or whatever.
Yeah,
but,
I like that.
What about you, John?
I try and keep my extras varied, especially given the theme of the comic and everything. But it's one of those things I keep realizing that I've got styles and types of characters that I keep going back to. But I've got a couple that I have kept putting into the background and can't find a good place to give them more of a spotlight, so they keep showing up. But one thing I'll do if I need an extra or a very small bit part, and it's not a major thing, I'll just kind of go and see what I haven't done before. I haven't done a middle-aged Chinese guy as one of these people. And so that guy will just be a middle-aged Chinese dude.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Oh, I haven't done any fat people in a while. This character will just be a fat person.
So Barry, it must be tough working on as many projects as you are to, come up with a lot of random characters.
Well, I would say that, sir, but when it's fun, because I just feel, as an artist, all artists have our certain things that we're strong at, and I probably have to say that I don't have many, but one of my things is like the fact that I like people so much. So when it comes to making those character designs up, that's when I really put the pedal to the metal and I really start digging in and I start looking at a lot of movies and stuff like that and do that research. But when you're doing creator owned, you have kind of the privilege to not drag your feet, but take your time. You know, you can take your time with it and rework stuff. And when you got visual writers, when the writer definitely knows what he wants already, that really cuts it. That cuts it the time out. Like, yeah, I want a big guy. I'm like, I want a big guy. I look like this, look like that. But when the guy just says, I just want a big guy, I don't even know how he looks. I'm like, oh, God. You're not really. I'm like, just draw it. Do what you do. Just draw it. I don't know. I'm paying you. I don't care how it looks. Just get it done. I'm like, oh, man. All right, here we go.
I don't care how he looks. Incidentally, is always a lie. They don't think they're lying, but it is not the truth.
You get that character design to them, they be like, "That's totally not what I wanted." I was like, okay. And then that, but again, I do give them anything so I can get exactly what they want. Because sometimes some creators just need a little nudge, you know, because you don't want to lose the account, but you do.
No, it's absolutely true. That's why whenever I do commissions and stuff, I always do first drafts and sketches, and I'm always like, okay, you like this? You like this? Are we on the right track? And that saves a lot of work beforehand. Because if I draw something and I have to go back and draw it again, that's like the absolute worst thing. I hate that. I hate doing work twice.
I hate it. But in this field, man, until we get into this team that we're working with, I feel when I work with so many writers, like I work with so many writers, so many different styles, and I mess with all of them well. Even like I got some crappy guys that, and yeah, I had to. The job got done, and they coming back, you know. So, you just know how to roll with punches and humble yourself, because you got to understand that a lot of guys aren't asked to draw that. You are. A lot of guys aren't. You know?
Yeah. Okay. For design, I was just kind of thrown off. Now it's starting to annoy me, and that's weird.
It looks so clean though.
It's getting there. Well, now I've decided that his armor ought to be tech if his gloves and boots are tech.
Have you ever flipped the image and then all of a sudden you realize, oh no.
Oh God, yes, all the time.
Oh, no.
That for a while that was an absolute necessary part of my process, because every time I did it, it's like, oh, everything is freaking tilted.
Actually, when I look at your character's face here, it reminds me of the video store clerk from Clerks.
Clerks.
From Dante.
Oh no, that guy.
Damn it! Now I can't unsee it.
I know. Flip the image. Flip the image.
Right there. Yeah, his head's all dorky now. Damn it! I was getting so good at that too. Okay, now that it's in my, you know what? It's a one-off thing anyway. Here we go.
Not take him out, man. Why not? Like, why not? Here we go. But I'm not supposed to be here.
Well, now it's Dante, I guess. No, it didn't start out that way, but you know what? Now I can't unsee it, so it's.
Well, at least now you know who to cast if you ever make a movie. You need some work anyway, so hurry up and get that done.
It totally off.
This is all Peter's fault. Blame him.
All right, guys. I'm looking at the time. I got to bid you all adieu. I'm gonna see you in the next chat group, eh?
Yeah,
All right,
man.
man.
Well, thank you so much for coming.
Oh man, thank you for having me, man. I'm just glad y'all didn't beat me up too much for being that kind of.
Uh, then not the first time, man. Not the first time.
Oh, I know. So it's gonna be worse next time. Thanks. You guys are the best, man. I want you all to have a good night. Stay creative, and again, I'm looking for all your projects too. Okay.
Absolutely.
Take
So
it
when
easy.
Good
again?
meeting you, man.
Oh yeah, for sure. Same here. When are we getting together again, Pete?
Next Sunday, and I might make Studio Synergy on Wednesday nights. I'll see. I usually post
All right.
midweek the next chats.
Well, just shoot me a line.
So.
I'm definitely gonna be looking for it. You guys have a great night.
Yeah.
Man.
All right,
You
good
too,
night.
man.
All right, late.
All right.
See you next
Take
time.
care.
Whoops, doodle.
Oops, a doodle.
Whoops, a doodle.
That's never good.
I don't. Yeah, it was just a. I was drawn with color when I shouldn't have been. Also, I don't know why I turned into Ned Flanders for that sentence, but you know.
So I'm not kicking you off, but didn't you say you had to go, Tiffany?
Oh yeah, that's true, huh?
Must not have been too important. Forgot about it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I just wanted to catch the
I mean-
the new TV series, Gotham. It
Oh,
airs.
Do you,
Yeah.
know, do you know if they're going to put that online afterwards?
I have no idea. So I wanted to catch
Probably
it
on
while.
Hulu.
What network is it on?
It's CW. No, wait, it's Fox,
no,
right?
Fox. It's on Fox.
Fox.
So I just wanted to
Huh.
see it, get it over with. I didn't want to judge it prior to seeing it. And all my criticisms or praises will come after I watch the pilot.
Yeah, I'm interested in how that is.
Yeah, because I saw the animated version. Not animated. Well, it's not an animated version, but I saw an adaptation of one of the Batman comics where the focus of the story was Commissioner Gordon, and Gordon was badass. It was a really good story. So I'm wondering how they will do this in Gotham, since it's just supposed to be no Batman in Gotham, which is going to be weird.
Well, it's no Batman, but isn't it? I think the focus is Jim Gordon, but Bruce Wayne will be in it. I hope. I could be wrong.
Well,
Yeah.
there's going to be a little kid, but usually when they cast little kid characters in TV shows, they tend to be all kinds of bratty and not childlike at all. So I usually end up hating the child character in every single TV show. For a while, I hated the child from Walking Dead. I wondered, when was he going to get eaten?
Take that, Carl.
It's like, goodness, man. Because I'm like, you know what? I wasn't that stupid when I was a kid. I know that for sure.
That'll teach you to be 9. No, I'll joke. Oh, I was just gonna say, all joking aside, yeah, I totally get the kids being annoying. It's very hard to pull off in TV and film.
And it is refreshing when you see somebody that does a really good job, a kid actor. Every
Oh
once in a
yeah,
while.
Yeah.
that is true.
I guess we'll see. I mean, Selena Kyle is in it, and it looks like she's at least a teenager. So I can't imagine Bruce Wayne being young.
I'm sure they play around with the ages and the origins quite a bit on that show, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's not right. It's not how it goes. It's all wrong.
God.
Oh my goodness.
That makes me want to get on such a rant, but you know, time and a place, I suppose.
So I will not judge, because I learned my lesson when Iron Man came out. Because I thought the actor, I thought he was going to be so bad. It's like, what is this pumping? What is this guy doing here? Come out of here. He can't be Iron Man. No way. And then all of a sudden, he became Iron Man.
And like completely redefined that whole character. Like every version of the character now is living in the shadow of Robert Downey Jr.
I know. I was like, after that, I learned my lesson. I do not judge it.
I never really followed Iron Man that closely. So what were like some of the major differences that weren't there that Robert Downey Jr. brought to the character?
Well, I will say that the character was boring. He was so boring.
That was pretty much where I was going with it.
Yeah.
He's never.
Everything.
I know he was an alcoholic.
He is in the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like the only. That was the big characterization. That was like, you know, the first time that he had a really strong characterization, and then he just kind of didn't, because Iron Man for decades was one of those projects that, you know, people got handed, and it's not something that anybody really wanted, because other than that one run, there wasn't a lot of classic stuff to follow up on. So he was just sort of generically heroic, and for the longest time. And then, you know, Warren Ellis, when they did the Extremis storyline, you know, made him very, very haunted by his, you know, because he's a man who makes weapons. He makes things that are designed to kill people. And he really played hard on that. But that's...
Yeah. Before then, he didn't really have a character at all. He was just like a blank slate. He was it.
He, like... So, yeah, then Robert Downey Jr. comes along and really kind of makes the character his own, and, you know, really sells this idea that he's a crazy-ass rich dude who has been brilliant and rich enough to not care for his entire life, and gives him that charisma and everything, and, you know, that's something that's unique to that character now that wasn't there before, so, yeah, of course everybody's going to kind of follow in that footstep, because everybody loved it, and it's something that it really only works for Iron Man in the Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
You couldn't have Captain America or Spider-Man acting like that, and make it have any sense at all. That'd be insane.
Mm.
Well,
It's like, Marvel had a lot of good writers, but they didn't. You know, Iron Man the series wasn't one of their strongest. You know, because in many ways, Tony Stark was like Bruce Wayne. You know, it's the same. Like, he has a character without powers. It's just, you know, in Iron Man's case, it's what he builds. Is his power. But he, you know, he went in many different directions because he had many different writers. But he could have been as cool as Bruce Wayne was at times in his own book. But I think, you know, Batman suffered the same thing, like too many different writers. Oh my God, my eraser. My cat stole my eraser the other day. my my girlfriend shut the door, so I just saw it. But that's what they're good for.
Don't trust pets around drawing equipment, man. That's dangerous.
It was like I bought 2 new erasers, and neither of them worked. And I was like bummed because then I looked around. My cats stole my 2 good erasers, so. So I was doing. I bought one that looked like a kneaded eraser, but I don't know. It was for something else. It was like it had a bluish tint instead of gray, and it was sticky. And I was like, this is totally useless to me. And I liked the white erasers, the white like rectangular erasers, and I bought one, and it's like hard as a freaking plastic pipe. I don't know.
That's what I
It's just like, yeah.
use those white ones too. But I
Yeah,
used
but
to use a
the
needle.
the white ones, but the soft white ones, like
Yeah,
the one
yeah.
I bought was too hard. Yeah. I like the kneaded eraser, but I don't use it, a ton. White erasers are better. Like I said, I can't buy anything in town because it's only at a copy center that I get stuff, and they have different things, not necessarily what I need. I'm better off.
They've got copying
getting
stuff,
online.
not art stuff.
What was that?
I said they've got copying stuff, not art stuff.
Yeah.
Well, they actually do have art stuff, but it's just random stuff, and it's not necessarily what I need. I bought a couple of things that were useful. But when I store my art pages in now, no, actually, I got that somewhere else. Anyway, never mind. I'm just making shit up now. So I don't know about you guys, but it's like 10:45. I'm probably going to wrap this up soon. So if you want to address anything, take advantage now.
Yeah, as long as it's topical. I saw a thing today where David Dorman's wife basically blamed, kind of the drop off on comic related con business and art related con business on cosplaying, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, so I saw that posted by. Yeah, some people. Well, I guess most people respond that cosplay isn't responsible for good or bad business within conventions. Not that alone. That
Right.
isn't the deciding factor. It makes a good headline.
Yeah, I was just listening to the latest Comics Are Great. You guys watch that show or listen to it, the podcast?
No.
Yeah, I do. I haven't caught the latest one yet.
Yeah, so the topic was just that it was cosplaying, and he likes to play devil's advocate. So he had a cosplayer on there, and he's like, he's saying, well, what do you say to people that say that cosplay is ruining the comic book business and all that? And of course, it's just like I said, him playing devil's advocate. And I'm thinking to myself, well, who's going to say that? And then there was the day I didn't read the article, but I saw that posted. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess I was wrong. So what is the argument then? What are they saying? How is that ruining comic books?
Her whole theory is that well, it's not ruining comics exactly. It's ruining con business because she's been. It's Dave Dorman's wife, and they've been going to conventions for eons, and the sales been slumping, and she is like, her whole thing is people are going to conventions to be celebrities themselves, and that's the focus now, and the artists and the vendors and everything aren't able to sell anything because that's not why people are going. And I found that I don't doubt that con sales are down in any capacity. Like I fully agree that is the case, but I find her premise a little bit sketchy.
Yeah, I agree with you, because that's what happens when a market gets saturated anyways. And so she has. I thought that was crazy talk.
Yeah, I think the thought process doesn't actually go any further than we used to make money back in the day. This thing wasn't around back in the day. Now we make no money. This thing is here. Ergo, this thing is responsible for us not making money. It was to me what the thought process was, and I didn't. I think that's interesting.
No, I don't agree, because I remember my first convention was
the Gotham TV series.
Oh yeah.
I blame that.
Oh, it's really. It's all time. You go down. It's 10 minutes. Okay, I'll talk to you guys later.
Okay, take it, Tiffany. Thanks for coming around.
All right, bye.
See ya. Bye. Nice meeting you.
There is like, hold on.
Time out.
Yeah? Okay. And back. All I was going to say is, there seems to be a ton more comic conventions. And maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just noticing them pop up more. But it seems like every month there's comic conventions. Everywhere there's comic conventions.
Well, it's not everywhere yet, because back in my old hometown, there's 2 small conventions in the entire state, and they're not easy drives. But no, there are a ton more conventions. It used to be that Emerald City Comic Con was kind of the de facto start of con season, and now there is no start of con season. It just goes 12 months.
Yeah. And that's great, and that and that sucks. I don't know. I hear a lot that a lot of artists going to conventions make more money at the smaller shows. Well, there's definitely a lot more smaller shows to go to. So yeah, like what Tiffany said, is definitely an oversaturation of comic book conventions, and I'm sure eventually, somewhere down the line, that people pull back on creating new ones. But as far as making money, it's like you could blame everything, but why blame anything? Just do your job better.
Yeah,
that's what I say.
Well, I think
that's what I say. That's my bottom line.
You've got to change if that is the factor, or if it's something else. I mean, you just have to roll with it and change with it. It's just like comic book stores. I mean, they've got to concentrate more on like toys and things like that nowadays, and physical things that you can't get through the internet and everything.
Diversify.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, there's this place called Zia Records out here where I live, and they're opening up. I think it's probably their sixth store because I mean, record stores, of course, people don't buy people don't even buy CDs anymore, but they've just tapped into this thing where there's they sell books new and used and toys and all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's still called a record store, but they're not really selling that many records, but but they're bigger than they ever were because they've rolled with the times.
Yeah, it's like, there's convenience stores everywhere, but some are more successful than others. It depends on what they're selling or how they're selling it, or location or 1,000 factors. And if you're going to conventions and you're not making as much money, then either maybe you should be doing conventions, maybe more of your business is, why do conventions if you're not making money, then why go? Yes.
I I don't think there was really a follow-up to that. I think that pretty much said it. I thought we were just being rhetorical, but okay.
Yeah, it's conventions are a potential way to make money, and I definitely want to do a lot more of them. I haven't been doing much of anything this year, but really to do them right, you have to freaking sign up for them a year ahead of time anyway. Want to do a lot of conventions. It might not be until 2016.
That was one of my goals this year, was to do more conventions, and it kind of, now I think, so far I don't have any other plan. I mean, I was going to, I had a few other ones that I was going to tap into, but then, then I kind of switched focus and I got into the whole 100 days thing and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, it's just, I don't know, but I definitely want to get back into it and start traveling more and doing more conventions, but I don't know. It's just...
Oh, sorry.
Nothing. I was just going to say, if I do it, I want to do it right and try to make sure that I make money doing it. And I know a lot of people, that's not their main concern, but the shows that I have been able to do, I've at least broken even, if not made a profit. And I'd like to continue to do that, but it's just, the table space, I mean, costs money and all that stuff. So anyway, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that, kind of one of the things, because I just moved out of the Pacific Northwest last year, and one of my brilliant ideas was, because there's a lot of conventions out here, I was going to be able to actually attend more of those, and both as, an Artist Alley and actually as a fan again. But I was already signed up from last year to do Emerald City in their Artist Alley, and made kind of a big production of it, and it, kind of very much considering not re-upping that again for next year, because it's just, it's a lot of investment if you're not going to be getting a lot of money back out of it, and I don't know. It's kind of a hard racket to.
Well, there's
for the big conventions anyway.
If you look at it, from a business stance, and not making money at a show isn't the only reason to do a show or not to do a show. I mean, if you network the best at say that show, or get work via that show, or other reasons, like, than just going in to make your money back, or
Sure.
make more money, or, Because I'd been to a lot of shows where I spent triple what I made, with no chance of making money back. But highly effective networking wise.
Yeah.
And I'm talking like even beyond, well, a pinup to do. No, I'm talking like years worth of business beyond that, because you not only make the connection there, but you freaking follow up and you keep in contact with people, which is something people don't always keep in mind as well.
Oh, that's very true.
Yeah. No, there's definitely. I mean, when I go to a con, I mean that's obviously like I said, I do want to try to make a profit and pay and at least make my money back, but that's not the only reason I go. I mean, just getting out there and talking with people and letting them know who you are and just everything about it in general. I mean, there's so many reasons to to go to a con, even if you're But I mean, I don't know. You could probably just go as just buy a ticket and network pretty well too. Or do you think you need to have that presence with a booth there and everything in order to do that, Peter?
I think if you have a good booth set up or a table set up, and you're at the convention the whole weekend and you're networking as well, I think you're making a better presence than just connecting with people and they say, "Well, where's your table? We want to check out what you're doing." Well, I'm just walking around. It's there's more than comic people that do conventions, and there's plenty of businesses that have been doing them far longer. You always want to, and if you have a table, that's more in your favor. But you can make anything work for you if you're really work with it.
Yeah.
We were talking about conventions a bit yesterday, on our casters, and we were talking about prints and stuff, how more and more artists, like a lot of artists that don't do any comics or anything and just making a living off of prints, or a lot of independent people who have comics, maybe not so popular, but are also on the side doing prints. And prints are making people more and more money than ever. A lot of walls of prints. I know. Last time I saw Cal Fury, he started doing these series of I think it was one color prints of just a lot of different characters. One would be blue, one would be green, one would be red, whatever. And he had this whole setup behind him. There's a whole wall of them all together, and it's just impressive. And I've seen a lot of people I don't know by name just setting up like that. Like, they have DC characters, Marvel characters, Image, popular characters, comic books that were made into movie characters, whatever, and just making phenomenal that, as opposed to the unknown or semi-known comic book creator, just came out with issue 3 of his book after a couple years and trying to still make a name for himself, and that's all he has, and maybe sell 5 copies, and
Yeah, I mean, I definitely make more money off of prints and stuff at conventions than I do my comics and everything. And, yeah, I don't know.
It's easier sell.
Yeah, it's
I
easier to
mean,
sell, especially if you're selling, properties that everyone already knows that aren't necessarily like, no one knows like Young and the Dead, but they know Spider-Man and they know all that, which I don't really. I mean, I've done like parodies and stuff like that, but yeah, it still baffles me that people can get away with just straight, fan art and everything, but they do. I mean, I had just today I uploaded some shirt designs onto, I think it was TeePublic, and they're all parodies. They're definitely, I've had one that was, I had this one called Great Scott Holy Fender Benders, where it was the Batmobile and the DeLorean from Back to the Future, and they're like crashed, and then Doc Brown and Batman are out, arguing with each other in front of the wreck, and I guess they pulled it. They said it was, it infringed on, IP or something, which in a way it did, but it was, to me it falls more under the category of parody, and which is fine. I understand that why they pulled it and everything, and I don't have a problem with that. But then you look at that T Fury, not T Fury, but T Public, the website, and almost every single print they have on there is is it could use borrowing maybe, but taking from somebody else's intellectual property. So I don't know what in particular flagged that one.
probably because it was Batman.
Yeah, I guess it was, but I have to give it another look. But I don't even think, like, thought I was real careful not to like show certain things like the bat symbol and things like that, and but that one was, that one I might have been pushing a little bit on that one, but
Because you could do Star Trek, you could do Doctor Who. I mean, like you see everything, things like that everywhere. Star Wars,
yeah,
that are all parody. But it's clearly those characters that series, whatever. Um, but yeah, you mess with DC characters or Marvel characters, that's something else.
yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Like you look at comic conventions, and there's so many people doing that, and I'm like, how are they getting away with that? I mean, I guess I don't want to call anyone out, but some people, that's all they do. They've got a huge wall of just, prints of, all these different superheroes, and they're making tons of money, and
Yeah.
I'm not sure why.
But it's. I mean, I see stuff online that, this is, if you watch Jeff Lafferty, he's talked about this a couple of times, and he actually avoids talking about this. But, I mean, the rule is that you shouldn't do it anyway. Everybody else is doing it, but you shouldn't do it. That's not his rule. It's just
Yeah.
general. But everybody does, or enough people do. Not only just like make prints and sell them at conventions, or make T-shirts and sell them at conventions, but actually set up stores online and sell it themselves.
Yeah.
Not to mention like what you're talking about, which is like there's a T-shirt site or a print site, and you give them the image and they put it up for you. There's plenty of people doing that as well. It's like if somebody comes at you, then you have to take it down.
Yeah.
It's like I would love to do prints, and it's like I would love to do popular characters, but there's the part of me that doesn't want to do what everybody else is doing. So where do I find that balance of making something cool, but nobody's gonna know what the hell it is. It's I guess I kind of would lean towards creating original artwork, which is rare, I guess now. Um, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's where I'm headed, and that's kind of what, most of the, I would say about maybe 10% of what I've had at shows has been like parodies of pop culture or whatever. And again, I keep using the word parodies because it's the same kind of stuff that I would have seen in a Mad magazine growing up. I mean,
Yeah,
if I think of a funny gag or a funny spin on some kind of pop culture thing, then I used to do like, I would do a T-shirt design or something of it. But now I'm kind of going more in the direction of the stuff I'm doing for my circ work stuff with the this retro future style prints and everything with robots and all that kind of stuff. But unfortunately,
yeah,
that the 10% of that, the stuff that people know, that people are familiar with, is outselling the 90% of everything else. So it's tough.
yeah,
Well, and kind of taking one step back, kind of the reason that all developed around the con scene is because the con scene, my understanding of it is it developed kind of a unique subculture because, yeah, the people selling those prints and everything are technically in violation of the law and in violation of intellectual property, but Marvel and DC don't want to be stepping on the toes of people who are going to be making comics for them in the future, and it's been a very good place for them to poach upcoming artists and find new stuff. So, like, kind of my understanding is the unwritten rule is as long as you're actually doing this stuff, you're not actually thieving other people's artwork. You did create what you're selling, then generally, and I mean, I'm not advocating anything here for anybody watching
right.
this, but my understanding is generally Marvel and DC kind of look the other way if it was something done by the people. But I've been very leery of taking that path myself because I do not want to be the canary in that coal mine.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there is also the problem of people who steal other people's work from online or however they're getting it.
Rob
And
Granito.
and is one example, but there's plenty of people, and I've seen recent examples this year of just taking artwork offline and selling it as their own work. But like taking bits from one person, from another person, and from another person, and putting it all on one site and selling it as their own work, and clearly it's like 6 different styles, like extreme different.
Yeah.
But I say this, get to know the artists you're buying from, and support their work. If it's a parody or if it's their own creation or whatever the case. It's I could talk a lot about this, but essentially, it's like I want to find that balance. It's like I love parody, and I'll be the first person to say, "Hey, look at that!" And I'm looking at it because it's something I'm familiar with, and I'm excited by it because it's also the same reason, just like because I'm familiar with it, and it's the spin on a character I know. And if it was something not that, then it wouldn't grab my attention in a millisecond. It'd take a little longer. But there's quality of work that also grabs my attention, and just really like making a name for yourself. I mean, like if John Byrne did a print of anything, I'd pick it up. You know, he's an extreme example, but he's been around a long time, and I was gonna say something before, like if I've been to plenty of conventions where I wanted to buy the latest trade or collection or art book from an artist I admired and didn't have enough cash. I always picked up a print, and it could be something I'm familiar with, or it could be just jibber jabber, just something they sketched and made a print of. So, artists that have prints, if I can't afford something big, I'll buy the lower ticket item, which is usually a print.
Yeah.
So what do you say, guys? We'll wrap this one up.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good place.
I think I could go get something for dinner. I'm starving. So.
All right, what are you cooking us tonight?
I think I'm gonna make a hamburger, frozen burger or something. Something quick.
I could do a hamburger.
Yeah, that sounds great.
It's awfully
We'll be
kind
right
of
over. All right. Well, Scott, I want to say goodbye and leave your plug your website and stuff.
Okay. Yeah. So my website is circworks.com. It's SERKWORKS. And if you're into kind of 50s style visions of the future and robots and mad science and zombies and all that kind of stuff, I got a bunch of different prints and novelties, and and then my comic books are on there too. If you like kids fighting zombies, The Young and the Dead, that comic book's on there. But yeah, it's all at circworks.com.
Cool. And John?
And I'm John Grzeski, aka Zomburai on the internets. I do an urban fantasy police procedural webcomic called Everyday Abnormal, and that is at everydayabnormal.thecomicseries.com. There's also a Facebook at facebook.com/everydayabnormal. And you can also support me on Patreon if you happen to check the comic out and like what you see. And I've got some other projects that hopefully cool stuff comes from soon. So.
Cool. And of course, I am Peter Palmiotti, and I did some sketches. And yeah.
And you said you weren't going to do anything. You said you were just.
What's that?
You said you were just going to host, but you're sneaking in some drawing time.
Well, I can't do like serious work. I can't like focus on what I'm doing while I host, because I'm constantly just checking back to the event page, see if anybody shows up during or is messaging me, or that sort of thing. So it's like I can't.
Yeah, I know.
I can't do thumbnails. I know. Just explain it. All right, yeah, I'm Peter Palmiotti, and you can find me everywhere. Please buy my crap. Thanks.